Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever the case may be, wherever you're tuning in from. Thank you for joining us for a postponed, delayed, slightly delayed Red Fellas episode. Of course, the lads wanted to celebrate New Year's Eve with their friends and family in style. Of course, I obliged because that's the kind of friend, stroke brother, stroke family that we have at Football Khanage. But of course, I'm a hard taskmaster, and I asked them to come back on New Year's Day and speak on Liverpool Football Club because, ladies and gentlemen, there is a Premier League title to be won. That doesn't mean I am saying we will win it. I am saying there's a Premier League title to be won. And January the 1st, 2024, Liverpool Football Club sit on top of the league table. I made a mistake of tweeting from the Big Six account saying 5 points clear. I've been corrected since, but I'll say it again. We're 5 points clear. Respect to Villa, and Conroy may have other things to say, of course, forever the underdog. But we're realistically 5 points clear of Man City with a game in hand. So make of that what you will. People, thank you very much for joining us. Smash the like button on your way in. Hope you guys are all doing well. Happy New Year from everyone at Football Khanage. We wish you all a happy, prosperous, safe new. Hope everyone's been well. We have Conroy, we have Cav, we have Mush joining us. Conroy and Cav, you guys already know for Red Fellas. Mush is making his debut on Red Fellas, but he's been on with numerous shows on the channel. Welcome. This is your Kwanzaa moment.
Yeah, man. I'm hoping to rise to the occasion like our boy Jarrell has throughout the season. So yeah, I've got a lot to live up to if Kwanzaa is the benchmark, man. But yeah, delighted to be on with the boys. Delighted to be top of the league. Gonna be so fast. I never thought a game would be so stressful when it was our best performance of the season and one of the most dominant displays. But that was the entirety of what we want from this team this season, summed up in a game that was. So
yeah, absolutely. You know, you're spot on, Mush. You're spot on. That was. Con, I don't know what I'm really tired, Con. Like I honestly no. I'm feeling really drained after that one game. Because like Mush says, that's encapsulated Liverpool Football Club this season. I actually thought we were so good in that first 30 minutes because Newcastle have had a rest. If we had played Newcastle, Conroy, a week or two ago, that would have been a par performance against Newcastle away. Newcastle have had a lot of injuries coming back, a whole week to prepare for this game. They they took out a defender, brought in an extra midfielder. This was supposed to be a much trickier game than it would have been 2 weeks ago. But I thought Liverpool started off like an absolute house on fire.
Yeah, no, I think they did. I think I'd agree with everyone's. I've seen online after the game and some of the punditry as well that, in general, the performance tonight was probably the most key thing to look at because we've only lost one game this season. We've got a lot of results, but ultimately, I think we'd all agree. Any honest Liverpool fan have said there's been a lot of poor spells in matches or poor performances in general, or it's just not been up to standard. But I feel like tonight it was a lot of those things, especially even chance creation. Like we talk about the Manchester United game, but ultimately I didn't think we created many clear-cut chances. I think stats can blur the waters, can muddy the waters. That's the word at times. But today it was a lot of chances. I've actually forgot the stat. I meant to get the stat before I came on, guys, about the amount of shots. I think that was the most shots on target this season or something like that, and it was only scored 4 goals from it. So it was a great performance. But I think in general, going into this game, a little bit more confident for myself because I actually quite like Newcastle are quite impressive tactically this season. They have been in certain games, especially in some of the bigger games. But if you've watched the last 2 games, Notts Forest at home and Luton away, been plagued by injuries, and to be honest, the team looks generally quite exhausted. You've seen that with Anthony Gordon tonight, especially as well. So I felt like we could have got at them, and we did. Technically, we did at the start, but I know we're going to speak about it, and we'll say it off camera. At times, this fixture just seems to have a bit of drama, just attached to it in general. I don't know, guys. Like our managers are motive. The club's a motive. That's what we do. We get involved. But that I've said before, that brings strengths and weaknesses. It means at times there should be control, and it's maybe too emotional when it should be more controlled. But ultimately, we're gonna digest it and speak about it. But we got the result, and that at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
at the end of the day, that is what all will matter, Cav. And of course, we will discuss if it's sustainable and where we're at. But we have to say, Cav, at the end of at the end of the day, I think I'm going to try to break the record for at the end of the days in the show today. But at the end of the day, other teams are not where we are. Man City are not where we are. Arsenal are not where we are, and forget the rest. So at the end of the day, it is what counts. But my God, do Liverpool like raising the blood pressures of many a supporter all around the world?
Yeah, look, we can talk about the season and performances that have gone by, and there has been some stinkers in there. There's been some bore fests in there. There's been very little, complete 90-minute performances that you can be truly happy with. But at the end of the day, we've been better than the rest because that's what the table shows, So it doesn't matter how you get the points. The only thing that matters is that you do at the end of the day. And Liverpool have more so than everybody else thus far. So that's reasons to be positive. I think in terms of the overall the performance, we'll get into the particulars, but overall the performance, there was just excitement there, and that's what I wanted to see, because we've spoke for a few times now about how we are in this title race, how we are excited about this team, and how we are seeing glimpses of what this team can be and what we can be moving forward. But we need it to click. We need some things to start happening and getting it correct. And we also need Anfield on side, and we need to start harnessing this sort of momentum that we've got. And today, yes, we conceded a couple of goals, but overall, I feel like we just started to ride that sort of wave, that momentum that we're able to build. And I've been asking for weeks on end for Liverpool to carry momentum from game to game and actually start games off positively instead of trying to build into games. And that's what we did in today's game. So I've seen a lot of what I've personally been asking for weeks on end. Of course, there's improvement to come, but I just think that we're really now starting to find our groove a little bit. We're starting to get a little bit more confident. Players are finding their feet. It feels like we're taking the next step in this evolution. So I was pleased with what I seen today overall.
Yeah, look, you speak about getting in the groove. Shane, channel member, says, can we also talk about Klopp and the energy show? You can tell we will absolutely discuss that. Philip H, our resident Newcastle fan, says, no issues, you were better. Salah elite centre-back is a must. I think he means for us or for you. I think he means for Liverpool, I'm assuming. But thank you for the super chat, Philip. For sure, we were much better. Some stupid Twitterati are suggesting Liverpool were lucky with a couple of shots. I don't know if football's for them. Like, I'm not sure it's for you. Like, it's not for you. Like, try something else in your pastime. But thank you for the super chat, Philippe. I really appreciate your love and support as always. And you're always a very fair Newcastle fan as well from our interactions. I'm going to come to you because, Cav, I'm going to come to you with the team lineups because he talks about, Cav talks about consistency. We seem to find a groove. And I think it's fair to say, Mush, we've kind of, We've kind of going into games knowing what 7 or 8 at least of the lineup's going to be. And in my opinion, Mush, when it gets to the serious part of the season, which is now onwards, I think that's always a good base to work from, where 8, 9 of your starting lineup. And I think we're there now. Would you agree?
Yeah, and I think the place where that becomes most important and what Cav was talking about momentum, first, that obviously comes with players playing, but also one thing that I have noticed so much since, I would say, the Arsenal game in particular, is that these players have now trained more and more with this team, worked with these coaches now for 3-4 months, and our pressing looks super coordinated.
Oh, yes.
It's not just energy. It's about everybody knows when the triggers are, how many people should go, how to win that ball, and that only happens when players are playing together, but also knowing that, for example, if I'm Endo and I want to go and press the ball, if I always think about, if I do this wrong, I might not play next week, I don't think you go in wholeheartedly in your performances. And I think some of these players, Joe Gomez, for example, knowing that Tsimikas and Robertson are out, I'm going to be playing every week, so I can go wholehearted in my defending as well. I think we're seeing a lot of that now, which is players know they're going to play, and that is why they're a lot free in their thoughts. So yeah, man, I really thought the selection for me, if I'm going to be honest, I know I'm a big Harvey Elliott advocate, and I don't want to use confirmation bias just because he didn't play well today. But my kind of thinking has been that there's nothing that Dominic Szoboszlai is doing which is justifying why Harvey Elliott shouldn't be playing. And that's not an insult to Szoboszlai. He's 22 years old. A player cannot play well for 40, 50 games in a season. If he's having a 10-game period, that's off. And Harvey's red hot when he comes on. I thought, if momentum is the key word we're discussing, why are we disrupting Harvey Elliott's when he's obviously riding the wave of some form here? So that was the only one in terms of selection that I disagreed with a bit. And I guess the other one, we've all discussed it. I mean, I listened to this show. I listened to all the Khanage shows, and Diaz has obviously been a big issue of contention. It's not we want him to play badly, but a player who is not scoring for 10, 12 games and not having an effect, it would have been justified if he didn't play. But what I will say, and we'll go into it in more depth, I'm sure, he had a game that completely flipped his season today, I thought, Luis Diaz, and he really needed that game for himself, as well as getting the crowd back on side. So yeah, man, those are my thoughts on the lineup.
Con, by the way, just another reminder for smashing the likes. Are you lot mad? Like 50 likes, over 230 of you guys in here. Come on, guys, we need a better ratio than that. You're showing me Nunez levels of finishing here, guys. Come on, man. We need Jota levels of consistency here. Come on, guys. Get those likes percentages up. Con, Mush talks about his bone of contention in terms of the lineup being Harvey Elliott. I get it. But I just think Harvey Elliott is in that zone in terms of where he's making such an impact off the bench. I think Jurgen Klopp tried to be one step ahead. He knew that Newcastle were going to pick a big, tall, strong, powerful midfield. I just think the size of Elliott unfortunately works against him in these kind of situations. Not only because, he's absolutely perfect on the ball and he can play that, creation role and connecting role. But in terms of set pieces with Mohamed Salah in the team as well, and then
Grizz, I was going to say, sorry, that the only thing I did think that gave me peace of mind with Elliott was that he has been a key player in all of the other competitions. And I think because we're going to the Emirates, he's going to be needed. Yeah, he's going to be the most responsible one on the ball. And I think Klopp wants Elliott to be 100%. So he needs to flip it into a compliment to Elliott.
Absolutely. And I think you're absolutely right to make a case for Harvey Elliott. I'm not denying that. Absolutely. I agree with you to make a case for him. But for me, I think the team picked itself pretty much apart from the Diaz and Gakpo scenario, right? Con, was you okay with that? Come to you first.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I actually I hear Mush's point on Elliott. I think that question will probably come up again, consistently in the next couple of games as well. I do think, though, he has had such a good impact off the bench in certain games, and he's maybe had one or two where he's played well from the start, but it's not consistently. But then you could spin that argument to say Szoboszlai has been, very poor in the last 5-6 games, so quite entitled to go for it. I would maybe look at the point as well, though. I think every inward corner from the left, Szoboszlai was on them. I think we had 5 in the first half, so I don't know if there's maybe a bit of set piece knowledge as well going for that, because usually it's Trent on that side, but he puts Szoboszlai on. I think 4 we had in the first half. Maybe that comes into consideration. I would say as well that set pieces when it comes to Newcastle, ironically, we defend terribly, and for the second goal, that maybe came into it. But I don't know if it's maybe one of them. It's I don't think Klopp uses price on players. Like, he doesn't see he's a 60 million player needs to start, because he'd never done that with Nunez last season, to be fair, or what games when he's taken
never
him
did
out.
it with Peter either.
Yeah, it wouldn't do that. But what I would say is, I think with Szoboszlai, I get the impression at times that he definitely seems to be quite a confidence player. And now maybe every player's like that to a certain extent, but I felt like he maybe thought today, because Newcastle aren't in great form, he'd have a bit of space at the edge of the box, to try and dictate and try and kind of play himself into form. So when I saw the team sheet, I thought we'd have a lot of the ball like we did, and I think Klopp was maybe seen it as a good chance to kind of play himself back into form. Ultimately, we'll discuss if that happened or not, but I had no problems with the lineup, to be honest. I felt the way that first half went, chance creation wise, as much as I've said our performances haven't been great, I felt like this was a good time to play Newcastle for me. So yeah, no problems with the lineup from my side, Chris.
Cav, anything from you before we get into the action? And I guess I come to you for the opening 20, 25 minutes. Like we just discussed, or I've just discussed, the Diaz Gakpo scenario. But it was Luis Diaz who took the game by the scruff of the neck in that opening 20 minutes. He scores an offside goal. He wins the penalty numerous times. He gets the better of a very, very good fullback in Livramento. Very highly thought of Livramento. Luis Diaz. Luis Diaz. We were waiting for him to come back in form. And I agree with many people saying that this is the time when we needed him to step up with Mohamed Salah now off to AFCON. That opening 20, 30 minutes was vintage Luis Diaz.
Yeah. You guys talk about his selection in the team and whether Gakpo maybe was a better option. But like you said, with Salah going off now for AFCON, you need Diaz to get back to some kind of form, because we're going to be somewhat reliant on him to sort of chip in with the goals now and the assists. So he's got to play his way back into form, which is why I kind of was okay with him starting these games. On the Elliott point, he might be an option for us while Salah's away as well. So perhaps why we sort of were reluctant to put him in the starting lineup, because he's an option in both positions. I think Szoboszlai might have picked up a hamstring injury as well in this game. So that's also going to add to the need for Elliott to be available. But on the start of the game, I think just from the very, very first seconds, we were just on it. Mush talks about the press. The press was there. The counter press was there. The high line was in force. Everybody to a man looked like they knew who they were chasing down. They knew what the triggers were, and they looked rampant. You could almost get a sense that they knew that Arsenal had dropped points, and there was a capitalization that they wanted to get, and it just looked like they were on it from the off. And we were just not only pressing well, not only engaging in the challenges, not only winning all the duels on the ground and in the air, but once we got the ball as well, it was slick. It was fluid, you know. Suddenly there was
credit to Endo for that as well. I thought he was so forward thinking in everything he did.
Absolutely. And what I will perhaps talk about Endo, but what I loved about his performance, not only in the challenge and winning the ball back, but also when we were playing out from the back, he always offers himself as an option to receive the ball short. But actually, there was occasions where he went beyond the midfield, and there was a couple of times a through ball was played through him and bypassed the Newcastle midfield, and he found himself almost in like the 10-8 positions, and then he just keeps the ball ticking over. I think positionally on and off the ball today, he was brilliant, really, really good. And it's going to be a loss as well, him going off to the Asia Games. But just on the start, it was fluid, it was slick. I felt like Trent was decision-making when to come in field, when to go wide was perfect. Everybody was getting on the ball. And Diaz was just the standout star, because he was getting on the ball. He suddenly, I don't know where the confidence came from, but he just looked like he was going to beat everybody. He was going to take everybody on. He was going to just dribble around you, and he was going to make things happen. And he just played super, super confidently, as if he was a man in form. You know, he played like a little bit of a man possessed, to be honest, in that first half an hour. And everything that sort of came about, you talk about the offside goal and the penalty. It was the team was playing well, but he was the guy that was making things happen in the box as well. So brilliant from him. And I'd just like to add, I feel like Curtis Jones playing behind him perhaps played its part as well, because he offers us a real balance in midfield, both defensively and offensively. And his decision-making at the minute as to when he plays the ball and when he carries the ball, and his link-up play with the forward and the left winger, Diaz on this occasion, is brilliant. It really is brilliant. And I think that helped Diaz today.
This is my fault, because I wrote out the agenda and I didn't send it because you've jumped the gun. Because I know you wanted to get in there, but you know you've jumped the gun because I wanted to Curtis Jones. No, nothing to sorry about. I know, because I know when you know a performance and you want to speak on it, and I know you was edging to talk about Curtis Jones, and we will speak on Curtis Jones. But just very quickly on that opening spell, Mush, where did that Diaz? Because Cav talks about the confidence suddenly, because we saw a broken man against Arsenal on the subs bench. He looked really distraught and fed up, like, this is not me. Questions were being asked, rightly so. He's at a massive club. He's part of a 5-man attack that needs to perform, otherwise you're going to be substitute. Is it a confidence thing, like I say? Where did it come from? Is it a Curtis Jones enabling him? Joe Gomez, Curtis Jones giving stability on that left side for Luis Diaz to progress and do what he does best and run at players, be exciting? Has Jurgen Klopp had a word? What is it? Where did that come from? Because we haven't seen that performance in a while.
Yeah, I think the psychological side is definitely hard to assess, right? Because ultimately, unless you're speaking to a player, you know how he's feeling. Obviously, we know what's happened off the pitch, but we don't know where his head is at personally on a performance level. What I will say on a playing level, because however lower level I have played, one thing I do understand, especially when you play in the wide positions and you play how Diaz plays, there's a big difference between receiving the ball, being still, and receiving the ball whilst already being on the move. And one thing I noticed about today was rather than take a touch, stand flat footed, and then have to generate all of that power to do anything, he was receiving the ball as he was moving. And a big difference I noticed with Diaz was there are certain players in your team who play at the level that everyone else is playing. And what Diaz seemed to be doing is every time he received the ball, he would change the pace of how we're playing. So he was almost like that net positive every time he got it. We'd be moving side to side. Diaz would think, rather than me go back to the fullback, I'm going to try play a 1-2 inside and we're going to go forward. And those are the choices. Guys, we love the best version of Diaz, and those are the best choices about Diaz when he does something different that makes a defender do his job differently because he's worried about all the different options that Diaz takes. So that's what I loved, man. Diaz looked dynamic today. He looked like he was making the defender go where he wanted rather than a fullback leading him into positions where he could deal with him well. And that was just a refreshing and like Cav said, perfect timing because we're going to need someone to take on that mantle when Mo goes off to AFCON. So couldn't have come at a better time.
Con, the goal is disallowed rightly. Nunez is offside. We're gonna get into Nunez chat, I guess, probably now. And then we get a penalty. What was your thoughts on the penalty? Again, Luis Diaz dazzling run into the box. A bit of a delayed reaction, part one. We're going to talk about delayed reactions. I think it's going to be the theme of the penalties. What was your thoughts on the penalty? And then Mohamed Salah. We're not going to. Mohamed Salah will continue to take the penalties. We know this. But Mohamed Salah, again, I'll repeat, is not a great penalty taker.
Yeah, so the first one, the pen, I think as soon as I saw it, I thought it was a pen. They went on about a delayed reaction. I think it's kind of the way the challenge is, to be honest. Maybe it's slightly delayed, but I feel like he's caught him awkward. It's a foul, it's a penalty. I mean, in football as well, it's like the way the game goes as well. If it is a foul, you do tend to need to go down, especially when it's a clear foul like that, because you're not going to get it if you stay up.
Big up,
but let's just say it
it
as it is. Let's just say it as it is. The people think it's delayed and whatnot because of the commentary. The commentary is only there because it's Liverpool. If that was Newcastle, they'll be talking about how brilliant it was for him to get ahead of his man, what brilliant skill it was, what brilliant touch it was, and the fact that he's managed to win a penalty for his team.
Yeah, but Cap, I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that deep, mate. I thought it's first, and I'm quite fair. I thought it was a penalty straight away. Like I think it's quite.
It is. It's
clear. It's a pen, and it is as simple as that for me. So it's a bit like the Palace game. We spoke about that, making narratives where it isn't narratives, making because it's either for views, clickbait. It's the usual way of it. It seems to be that narrative. Nothing can just go smoothly, be correct, because that's football sells and controversy. That's the whole bubble of football anyway. But yeah, for me, definite penalty. With regard to the penalty kick, yeah, let's be honest. Sometimes he just smashes it and he doesn't know exactly where he's going, and that's what it was there. If we had the choice, I've said it before, I'll say it again. That's 4 out of the last 10 he's missed. Yep, he's got a pen today. Yep, he was fantastic second half. First half, I thought he was very poor. But listen, we're going to focus on the positives. He was outstanding second half. But this is what Mo Salah is the best at, right? Today's not the example of that, but scoring when he's not playing well, he is the best at that I think I've ever seen, right? But today, you can't even say that. Second half, he was amazing. But on penalties, though, I'm not going to change my tune because it's Mo Salah. I actually think he's he should be more composed the more he takes. But sometimes I think because there's been a few he's missed now, keepers are kind of seeing patterns. Where, as you said before, there wasn't patterns because he'd have a few different type styles. He'd go high, he'd smash it down the middle, he'd hit it in the corner. But I think because he's missed a few, he's maybe in his own head now. And listen, he's going to keep taking them anyway. I think it's a little bit frustrating when you have Szoboszlai there, who is going to hit it so sweetly from his style that it doesn't matter. It's a bit like Harry Kane. If the keeper goes the right way, they're still not saving it, but he's still going to take them. But yeah, I'm a bit like you, mate. When I watch it, I'm still not sure. The run-up doesn't give me any confidence. But listen, I can't. He scored so many, so that's not me being defeatist. He's scored a lot, so I can't complain. I don't know if you guys agree. I just feel sometimes a bit like when I see Harry Kane taking a penalty. Like, ironically, we're going to talk about the France England game, but 9 times out of 10, I think Kane, his technique, he's just going to score. I should feel more confident, but yeah, I don't with Salah, to be perfectly honest.
Cav, Darwin Nunez, you have the floor for a couple of minutes first. But guys, look, we're going to laugh or we're going to angry or we're going to get frustrated, but it is a point of discussion. And whilst we're at the top, and this is my mindset for now, and I know many will disagree, but that's the beauty of it. We're fine because we're in all the competitions and we're doing what we're doing and we've spoken about where we are. But how long is this sustainable for Darwin Nunez to miss chance after chance after chance? At what stage is there an awkward conversation? Because at the moment, they're just conversations for the sake of content because we're doing fine. Everything's rosy in the garden. But imagine if we start falling away out of the title race because some of those chances, like he was clean through, and I didn't think he's going to score. And we saw Jota clean through, and he was about to score, but was brought down. We'll get onto that. Darwin Nunez, he missed chances, he creates chances, he causes chaos. Wherever way you look at it, you have first dibs, sir.
Yeah, and we talk about why Liverpool was so good, especially in that sort of first half an hour, and we speak about the press, and that is down to the entire team. And Nunez at the spearhead of the attack is leading that press, so I'll give him some credit for that because it can't work with your centre forward not pressing or being in the right areas to press and so on. So fair play to him for that, and I think that's kind of what we expected from him when he came in, is that it would be this rapid pressing machine, and we've seen that to an extent. I felt like as good as we were playing, he wasn't really part of it much, to be honest.
His best move was the dummy he done for the Luis Diaz penalty. That was brilliant intelligence from Darwin Nunez to dummy that ball to Luis Diaz. I'm not joking. I'm not being harsh. That was his best moment of the game.
But that's what we're getting at the minute. He does something really smart there and intelligent in the box. And then you get moments where the ball's played into him in the box and he feels like he can just stand there for 5 minutes to decide what he's going to do. And someone just runs behind him and takes the ball off him. You're just like, what is going on? But he gets the one-on-one through chasing down. I think it's Botman, isn't it, who makes the mistake? Yeah. And at the time, I thought he might have given away a foul because I think he puts his arm out slightly or whatever. But it stood, and he goes through on goal. And at that point, he has to readjust his body, and that's like, it's not an easy thing to do, but it's something you just expect a striker to be able to do with ease. Just position themselves to be able to not only sort of put the ball in the corner, but put a bit of lift on it as well. He's not a striker that knows where the keeper is and knows how quickly the keeper's coming out and times his shots and places his shots. It's all just a bit rash, and that required, he did the hard work getting there, winning the ball back, but it required composure, and he obviously isn't demonstrating he's got composure in front of goal. So it was disappointing, and then he misses a header and a few other chances, and at this point you start to get frustrated. You start to think, is it not going to be our day? And you start to look at the bench thinking, well, there's a goal scorer on there, and Jota and Gakpo can chip in as well. But how soon do we take this guy off? And at that point I started to think, are my standards dropping here for a centre forward? I'm already looking at the bench, and at one point a ball was played into his feet and he controlled it well and passed it backwards, and I was happy about it. And I was like, I'm not sure I should be happy about that, but I am, because it's Nunez, and even that seems to be a bit hit and miss at the minute. So it it was a good game in terms of his energy, his work rate, all the things we come to expect. But that game could have looked easy. It could have been cruise control if this guy could just finish. And people say that every week.
We welcome Mr. Evan to the stream. Evan has been on treks around the world, including Anfield. Unfortunately, he didn't. Oh, he picked up a win at Burnley. I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. I was about to slander him, but no, he got 3 points at Burnley. But welcome to the stream. Hope you've had a good New Year's, Evan. And yeah, straight into the eye of the storm. Pauline says, and I want you to take this, Evan. I'd be more worried because this is what's thrown back at. Okay, on this channel, we don't do agendas. We're not anti-Nunez. We're support Liverpool. So when you support Liverpool, you support the players. You don't have to be a fan of every player, but you support every player when he wears the Liverpool top. So this is what gets thrown back, F. I'd be more worried if Nunez wasn't getting in goal-scoring situations. They will start going in. His overall play has improved so much. Think he deserves our support. Love him.
Well, it feels great to be back. First of all, went on the absolute tour of the UK's offering of football grounds in Premier League, Anfield, Turf Moor, and Goodison. It was quite the experience. Great to be home now, though, and especially to come home on a result like this. And I will say, Grizz, before you slander me, when last time I came 5 years ago, Christmas 2018, by the time I got on the plane to leave home, Liverpool were top of the table with the league in their hands. Ill-fated that time around, but you know the good omen thing is still alive and well. The point that the point that Pauline makes, I think has been my line. You know, it would be one thing if Nunez was playing for this team with all these generational playmakers in it, Trent, Salah, and of course the playmakers we've added over the summer, and he wasn't accumulating XG. That is a bigger worry than simply not finishing the chances. And you're not running agendas by simply stating that Darwin Nunez should be having a better conversion rate. It's just a fact. Mohamed Salah just dropped one of his best ever performances in a Liverpool shirt, but I wouldn't be running an agenda if I said his first penalty was shit, because it was. You know what I mean? We're just, you know, you just got to examine things on a case by case basis. That is where I still stand. I will say it is getting to a point of, you know,
what's the word? What's the emotion?
I would say worried. You know what I mean? Let's call it what it is. The guy has improved as a player since he's come to Liverpool. Pauline's right. It's cruel he didn't find the net today, because I thought most other things he did when he wasn't required to shoot the ball were great. He seems to have a growing understanding of where Mohamed Salah is at all times in relation to him, which is sort of a basic prerequisite of playing in this Liverpool front three. He helps us walk the ball into the net in a attacking transition sequence where everybody makes the simple pass, and lo and behold, we walk the ball into the net. So I would say the harder parts of the game, he has gotten noticeably better at. The numbers say it, the eyes say it. It's just a matter of, in those crucial sort of moments, just maintaining your composure and maintaining your self-belief. And you know, it is difficult. It is probably the most difficult part of the game, right? You know, that's why the goal scorers make the big bucks, and you know, it's been that way forever. It's still that way now. Should anyone be giving up on Darwin Nunez? No, that's absurd. We have more important things to be doing than giving up on players. We're in a title race. You know, give up on players when there isn't something more important going on. You know what I mean? I'm not thinking about individuals right now as we sit atop of the table with the title in our hands. It is early to say that. Yeah.
Evan, can I ask you a question? Anyone can take this. I asked this and Cab laughed last time when he was on our show. That comment from Pauline, I love Darwin too. It's fine. But I just want to ask, the statement that is commonly used throughout our fan base of they will eventually start going in. I just want to understand.
It's time to have some sweet rice.
I just want to understand what, and you can I don't mind statistical. I don't mind performance based or what you're seeing on the pitch. I want to understand why that statement exists of why they will eventually start going in because they don't at the moment.
It's a remnant. I'm going to be respectful to Darwin here. That statement is a remnant of what people used to say about superior players. Luis Suarez, for example, when he came to Liverpool, he would miss a lot of chances, but everyone saw across world football, Luis Suarez was a superstar waiting to happen because he was getting in as many goal-scoring positions as Darwin Nunez while also being as good as Eden Hazard on the ball. You know what I mean? So eventually it was going to start clicking. That is a statement reserved for better players. I think that statement is being offered to Darwin Nunez simply because of the volume, and he's underperforming even his own career conversion rate. It's really tough to say. What we can say for Darwin is that the chances always will be there, and there will be days where he's just on it. 2 chances, 2 goals, like in the return fixture at St. James's earlier in the season.
But when does Newcastle, right? When does Newcastle become the exception and not the potential?
That is where we currently sit. I would tell people I think Darwin Nunez still has credit in the bank. We do have to ask these questions. These conversations are uncomfortable. Let's call a spade a spade. It's an uncomfortable conversation to have. We've invested X amount of money. It's been X amount of time since we've signed him. Has he improved? Yes, he has. Is it enough to justify the price tag? We're not quite sure yet. Is there another level? I'm going to shut up after this because I feel like I've been talking for a while. But
I'm gonna make you work. You've been on holiday. I'm gonna make you work.
Yeah, no, I've been on the treatment table a lot lately. But what I was asking my dad last week when I was in Liverpool was I was like, is Darwin Nunez a floor raiser or is he a ceiling raiser? And it's a crucial sort of question to ask. The best players are both, absolutely. Darwin Nunez, I do not think he is a floor raiser for Liverpool. I think the best players are. Key example, Van Dijk. He's a floor raiser. Second, Liverpool signed him. All of a sudden, we stop conceding from set pieces. All of a sudden, every opposition corner becomes a counterattack. All of a sudden, we're a set piece team. We're a team that threatens from corners instead of fears corners. Van Dijk is both. Darwin Nunez, I fear he might just be a ceiling raiser in the sense that he's going to manufacture a lot of chances for himself just by his movement. But I don't think what he does sort of individually without the world-class service he receives might be enough to take him into that world beater column. I'm getting very metaphorical here.
And you're also getting very like philosophical about it because none of us, including Mush, many may think Mush has an agenda against Nunez. He doesn't.
I want him to score every week.
He just wants to have conversations.
He defies logic.
Yeah. And our Conroy is absolutely bursting at the seams coming on the Nunez chat. But unfortunately, we're going to end the Nunez chat. Tonight's not the show to talk about Nunez because we've won. Now, that's not a cop-out. That's a time restraint because we can have a whole show on Nunez and the forwards, like we did on Football Khanage. And we'll address it again. So, but we want to get to the second half because that first half, Conroy, was mad annoying. In fact, as we're at halftime, you guys already know what happens at halftime. We have to shout out, and we must shout out on my channel sponsors. Guys, don't forget your FUTcard.com is your place to go. Look the kinds of things they do. You can create your own card. You can get these metal football art prints, magnificent illustrations, images, paintings. Call what you want there. There's a Darwin Nunez one. Will he come good? Will we regret slandering him on certain shows? There's a Trent one there. That looks good, isn't it? That's a proper good one, that one. Luis Diaz, Steven Gerrard, anything you want. Oh, we're going to talk about here this guy's past later on as well. Guys, go check these guys out. They are doing amazing, amazing artwork. They've got the player moments prints as well, which where you can recreate or ask for any moment that lives in your memory and get it on a print to stick up or buy as a present. If anything you want to ask and you don't understand what Grizz is explaining or how Grizz is explaining, go into their chat, ask them anything you want, and they are willing to help you 24 hours, 7 days a week. Yourfutcard.com. In fact, if you type in 50 red fellas, you get 15% off all purchases on top of that as well. So go and check them out. Yourfutcard.com. Recreate your card, recreate your print, get a banner made, whatever you want. They cater for all of those type of needs. Con, halftime, I was saying, this is pressure now. We've seen 2 draws at home against Man United and Arsenal. We are drawing again. We need a performance like we have in the first half, but with an efficiency, or we need a lucky win, a lucky goal to come off the backside, a set piece, and then hold on. Which one was you hoping for at halftime, and how did you think that we started off the second half?
I was hoping for, the latter, Grizz, because to be honest, you can only ride your luck so often if you rely on individual moments of brilliance or, a 30-yard screamer or a shot that takes free deflection and goes in. I feel like we're getting to that time now, halfway through. We need to show something because we have got a chance. We're in this, but the performances have to be better. So that's what I was looking at. Let's not make it a scrappy affair like certain games we've done this season. Maybe wrong substitutions by Klopp. Not a lot this season, but there has been moments where, like putting Trent in the middle, stuff like that. Just that actually kind of kind of slowed down the game. It didn't quite work tactically. So I was hoping for to keep that smooth. Keep playing the football we're playing, and just you'll break Newcastle down because you were creating the chances there. So that's what I was hoping for, and ultimately that's what happens. It's probably one of the best team goals, especially it probably is the best team goal by the front three this season. It's an outstanding goal, and FIFA-esque, probably scrolling it. If someone done that at 5-a-sides, I'd be annoyed, to be honest. I actually had to go at someone last week for doing that one-on-one at 5-a-sides, but I'll take it for Liverpool. Scrolling it across the box, I'll take that all day long. But all jokes aside, that was a fantastic team goal. And as we've just spoke about Nunez there, in that moment, decision making, he made the right call. Earlier in the game, he could have probably squared it to Salah in that chance, because if I was finishing like him right now, I would square it. So at least he had a bit of self-awareness second half to do that. So, I've got to give credit where it's due.
Cav, that goal, Con's right, lovely goal, beautiful move. A bit of gegenpressing involved again as well. Szoboszlai set up that goal. Am I right, guys? Szoboszlai wins that ball. Was it Curtis? I think Szoboszlai wins that ball. Someone.
I think it's Szoboszlai. I think it is, because I watched it. I think he had short sleeves on today, so it's Szoboszlai.
Absolutely, and Szoboszlai wins the ball. And the reason why I mentioned Szoboszlai is because I thought he was atrocious again on the ball. Off the ball, he's an absolute monster off the ball. His covering of ground.
What have you done to this man, Grizz? What have you done to this man? Honestly, he was in such good form, and then that clip went viral, and that's us.
It's one of those moments. I just don't know. It's one of those moments. I just have to hold that. Cav, fatigue, worn out, played him too much, over relying on his physical, the attributes that he brings us to the physically, and we're just overexerting him, or because now, again with Mohamed Salah going off, some people were even saying that he could play on the right hand side. Today he comes off with a slight hamstring issue. Apparently, he's rubbing his hamstring. That could be problematic as well. What did you make of Szoboszlai at the moment?
Yeah, there was a few moments where we were sort of won the ball back and we were on the break, and the pass was just under hit or passed behind the man where it should have been in front, and momentum was lost. I don't know the reason as to why he's not performing to what we've seen at the start of the season. It could be fatigue, and obviously, back in Germany they do get a winter break, and maybe he's used to having a little bit time off. I personally just think I don't see fatigue in him though. You know, when we watched Fabinho and Henderson last season and the legs really fell off and it was slow and weren't near his man, this guy's up for every fight. He tracks back. He's strong in the challenge. You know, he's driving with the ball. He'll pick the ball up and he can see a pass, but he'll opt to run with it. That's not a guy that's tired. A guy that's tired is wanting to get rid of it straight away. I don't think it's fatigue. I just think he's just finding his feet at Liverpool still. I think he just had a really, really good start. He scored a couple of good goals, which has kind of elevated the expectation with him a little bit. Or not the expectation, because we've kind of seen it through the goals and his technique and back in Germany. But we've seen glimpses of it at Liverpool. We're like, yes, we want to see more of that. But actually, he's had a pretty steady start to Liverpool. And at the minute, he's going through a period where he's just still trying to adjust slightly. We've spoken before about Trent's inverted position, Salah, where he finds himself on the pitch. Szoboszlai's playing on the right-hand side with them guys, and he's still got to try and find his place. He's got to know when to overlap. The underlap, actually, I wouldn't say he needs to know when to do that because he does that brilliantly well. And Salah often picks him out with that underlap pass. But I just think he's finding his feet. I think he's just trying to link up with these teammates around him. He's always looking to shoot. I think he's perhaps been told when to shoot and when to keep the ball moving. And it's all them little things, you know, it's getting a player of incredible ability and excels in particular attributes and just trying to make him work for us. And I think we're just in a period where that work is still happening. By no means concerned, by no means upset that he's still in the team. I just think he needs time, to be honest, for it to come good. And maybe Salah going off to AFCON and him taking that, not the right wing spot, but maybe, you know, taking the onus a little bit more on the right-hand side might help him. We've seen his link up with Elliott in one of the games that seemed to work really well. So this could provide an opportunity for him to sort of step back up his performances again. But I think he'll be fine. And to be honest,
we have just on that we have some breaking news. Jurgen Klopp confirms Szoboszlai has suffered a hamstring injury.
Okay, scrap what I just said.
So, fuck's sake, Cav. Wasted all our time.
Yeah.
No, I actually think that hamstring injury came because of what Cav's saying, though. I think because he's losing the ball a lot, he's working extra hard to compensate, completing more sprints. He won the ball back a lot in that second half because he kept giving it away. And I think all of that is, sorry, Cav, I'm kind of adding to what you were saying here, which is when you see a player under hitting passes or only comfortable passing to feet is a sign of a player who's scared to make a mistake because it's in his head that he keeps giving away the ball. A player who's confident is happy to put the ball in front of the person receiving it so they can run onto it. And he is not doing that. And if anything, he's taking stuff off the ball now in terms of the power he generates on his passes. And it's just slowing us down as well as giving it away. So I think agree with Cav. It can't be fatigue when you're running that much. I think he's in his head. And a 22-year-old will go through that. A 22-year-old whose life has flipped upside down because he's joined one of the biggest clubs in the world is going to be scrutinized. Where he would play badly for Leipzig and you might have 1,000 tweets about it, you now have 500,000 tweets about it. And we can't act like players don't exist in the world we also live in, you know? So I think that's part of it.
My feeling with him is at Leipzig and stepping into Liverpool, the way he looks, the way he plays, the potential is sky high for this guy. He is a superstar in the making. Like, he is a midfielder that is going to be talked about as one of the best in the league and best in Europe in given time. And I just feel like when he's on, he is the guy at Leipzig, right? He is the player that everybody wants, and he's come to Liverpool, and instead of being the guy, he's got to accept just being one of the guys before he becomes the guy again, if that makes sense. He's stepping into a team where he doesn't need to score the wondrous goal. He doesn't need to dance around three players to score. He actually just needs to do the basics right first, and then moments will come. You know, he's no longer got to be the goal getter, the goal scorer, although that would be nice. His game has got to be tailored around facilitating what Liverpool want to do, which is get the ball to the forwards, you know, and be an engine in that midfield. And then the moments will come. So I feel like he's had to just adjust slightly. You know, you can see he's still looking for them moments where he can be the guy whose name's in the headlines, but actually his overall game just needs to be stripped back a little bit, do the basics, which he does really well, and then build again from there. And like I say, I think it will happen in time as well. You're on mute, Chris.
He's muted. Come on,
Evan,
Keith.
it's still
Sorry,
New-
Can I
it's
can
still
I
New
just
Year's, it's still New Year's.
before we it's slightly linked to the Szoboszlai point, but just before we get too far ahead, what that first half performance, we talk about counter pressing, we talk about fluidity, how good we were in the attack, but we've got to recognize how far we've come. There was real fight in that first half, and do you know what came with that fight? A little bit of attitude as well. Did you see the faces of Trent and Virgil at times? It was not an arrogance, but it was also like this is Anfield, you know. If you're gonna fight, we're fighting back. This ain't Liverpool of last year. You ain't running over us. We're standing up this year.
That's
you know?
it.
We're
That's
about
it. Cav, you're spot on. And I love that side of this team now. And this is why it's enabled us to reach the top of the table, all whilst not being even close to our best, I feel. There's been a handful of games where we've been our best, but the never say die attitude, and I know that should be a given, but the heart and the spirit and the physical nature of our players has enabled us to get where we are. And that's the reason why we've got this squad and the rotation, and that's why we need these options. And if Szoboszlai is out for a period of, I mean, we don't know obviously the extent of the hamstring injury, but it ranges from minimum 2 weeks to 2 months. So let's hope it's more of a strain as opposed to he's done any damage. Evan, 1-0 up. I wasn't comfortable. Was you guys? How was you feeling? I thought there's still so much drama in this game to go, even though we've taken the lead and you expect us to control the game from there on. Newcastle have one chance, one goal. Any blame attached to anyone? Someone was trying to blame Trent Easy again on the left wing. I think there was two players. He just
Gordon beat both of them. Yeah,
both of them. So maybe the cynical side of Liverpool needs to come out more there. We've spoken about that. But Trent was on a yellow actually, wasn't he? So that he would have got a bloody another yellow. So maybe that worked. And then some people saying Virgil shouldn't have stepped up, should have gone with the man. But just a great finish sometimes, right?
Yeah, Alexander Isak, who's done it to us before at Anfield. I absolutely hate playing against him. He's the type of striker, one chance, one goal. That's his game. Extraordinary player. I just want to talk about the finish. The finish is incredible. It's an incredible finish. With like the inside of his foot, he achieves sort of a out swerving sort of trajectory on the shot, curving away from Alisson, but also lifting it up over him. Yeah, the Henry thing was he
Henry curls in though, right?
Henry would curve it into the post. This one, he sort of dinked it over Alisson, but it had power and pace on it at the same time. The technical ability on Alexander Isak is jaw-dropping. I do think ability alone, he's one of the best strikers in the country. Absolutely. Who do you blame? I think Virgil plays it fine. Maybe he could have taken a chance and fully gone for the offside trap. Virgil does everything right. I think he doesn't foul him, doesn't overcommit. Alisson comes out when he should. It's just it's a well-weighted pass, and it's an even better finish. Let's attach blame to what happened before. Anthony Gordon cannot be getting converged upon by 2 or 3 Liverpool players and coming away with that much space. And here's the thing: it's happened before. I'm not gonna, like you said, Trent's on a card. I'm not gonna zone in on any player. But when 3 players are converging on 3 of ours, us, the pressing kings, when we're converging on a winger, he can't come away with it all alone, unattached, bearing down upon our box. You force him out, you force him to make a pass to someone else, you force him to give up custody of the ball or go the other way with it. That's not okay. That's sort of a collective breakdown of the midfield press, which is cruel on a day where I thought the press was largely quite good, and Newcastle struggled to play out. Newcastle struggled to bring any service into them, but you have to tip your hat to it. It's as good as you could possibly wait to pass in that scenario, and that's as good as a finish as you're likely to see at the cop end this season from a player in any kit. I really cannot speak highly enough about Alexander Isak.
Can someone confirm this? I didn't read or hear about it. Trent suspended. That would be.
They didn't mention it in commentary, so I'm not saying it. Not saying it's wrong, but I just didn't hear about it.
Okay, Magpie says fake news.
Yeah, I was about to say, aren't we past 50% of the season at this point?
Thanks, Pasio, for making us panic and try to work out selections for the next next game in terms of no left back, right back. Con 1-1. Obviously, we look to the bench. Artillery is there. If you're having an off day, if you're not having the best of games, you come off. I was perplexed by Luis Diaz's substitution. I knew Nunez was going to be hauled off. And who was the Szoboszlai picks up an injury? Are those the three subs at that stage? Yes. Endo, Szoboszlai. No. I beg your pardon. Endo's still on the pitch. Those three come off. We've looked many times to the bench to make an impact. And one name, one face, one player was just, I think everyone in their right mind was begging and baying for Diogo Jota to get on that football pitch.
Yeah, and I think a bit like Burnley, it's actually probably it's not a nice, and I'm not being negative because it is really positive, but it's chalk and cheese when you see decision making by players whose job is to get the ball in the net compared to players who were supporting to get the ball in the net, even though we paid 60 million for them, and they should, have that level already.
Now, Conroy, we said we're moving on from Nunez, but go on. He couldn't help himself.
Jota, so that's 2 games. Jota's had two opportunities to just show that he's at this level of football, because that's what they train every day. This is the standard they're at. Clear pass, makes the right decision. Has the hardest chance in the Burnley game and finishes when the rest of the team look like they've never practiced finishing in 3 months. So again, in football is the only sport we accept mediocrity a lot, and we do it all the time. But again, Jota continuously shows why we forget how sometimes his actual link-up and gameplay isn't great. He has runs where he plays quite poor. We all seem to forget this when he gets injured. But ultimately, when it comes to decision-making and finishing, he is by far the best player in that team. By a country mile. It's not even close. Because he's the only player who seems to actually, finishing is about calming down and making the right decision, not just instinctively hitting it, which again is not a compliment. If you say a striker's only instinctively good, that's not a compliment for me. That's actually poor, because a finisher striker's meant to be composed. He is that guy. It's clear now. He's just the man. He comes on. Could he easily snatch the shot, when, I'm going to try and hit it across the keeper, hit it round? No, he sees that Jones is there. That's the best pass. Easy goal. We should have been 4 up by then. But one man comes on and actually says, you know what? Let's just make this easy. It's a simple pass to do. That's why he's there, and that's why he is very vital, to be honest. I don't think performance-wise he's always that great, and I think we do forget that at times. Yeah. But his decision-making is up there. I would also add, what a pass by Salah. I actually think it looks more simple live, because you can't see it goes through the player's leg, because you think he just plays it around the corner. It's actually a superb pass right into that kind of, not half space, but just inside the box there. Perfect pass by Jota, and Jones probably get the easiest goal of his career, but who cares? We're 2-1 ahead, and then you know what? It's going to be smooth sailing here, guys, because we're going to control it. We're the best team. Let's keep the ball. Let's take it easy. That, because that is what we are. We're not emotional at all. We're a control team. Absolute opposite. That's what we are. But it works. But it has strengths and weaknesses.
Mush, the goal scorer, of course, Jota plays a magnificent part. Mohamed Salah, I never tire of speaking on Salah, but Salah's inevitable. So let's Salah's playmaking ability. I think someone said earlier on, I
tweeted this during the game, Grizz. I said it's not spoken about enough now while it's happening. It won't be spoken about enough long after he hangs up his boots. But Mohamed Salah is genuinely one of the greatest playmakers of this generation. The numbers say it. The quality of the assists that we've seen, Salah is not just, tapping it, little tap in assists. We are seeing a guy who is, how many times now have we seen that Trivela assist with the outside of the boot? I remember we saw it first, probably wasn't even the first time at that point. It was a fixture in the year we won the Champions League. We saw it away to Bayern. I remember seeing it before to a Bobby Firmino goal, home to Watford in 17-18. The numbers say it, the eye says it. And for me, this is what separates him from his contemporaries, because he is putting up the goal scoring numbers of an out and out number 9, a Lewandowski, a 18-yard box forward, if you want to call it. And he's also chipping in with the creativity of someone you would attribute to the Neymar or Hazard archetype of winger. He is the double threat. I've just ran out of words. It's such a shame that he didn't get an extra penalty to his name today. But
Yeah.
what we saw today, I thought, in terms of just raising, being a floor raiser, what we saw today was one of the greatest wingers of this generation in full flow. It's jaw dropping, really.
Kunit gives us a brilliant fun fact because Salah missed the penalty in the first half, then changed the boots and contributed 3 goals in the second half. Brilliant.
Fair enough.
Hopefully,
Right, get
he
rid
plays
of
with
those boots. Get those boots in the bin.
Mush, I want to speak on and focus on in a couple of minutes on the goal scorer of that. That we've spoken about Salah and Jota, but we haven't mentioned the goal scorer himself, Curtis Jones, who
Yeah.
I don't want to be okay. I don't think there's any point in doing a poll now because I was going to do who's man of the match because well, there was a couple of contenders obviously. Curtis Jones was I thought immaculate mush in that game. We've spoken about Curtis Jones in terms of what he brings to the team and how if you don't see it, then you probably don't understand the complexity of football in terms of how he's developed his different roles and how he's elevated himself to a position where now I think it's fair to say he's a first team starter.
I would go further than that. I think we last spoke about it. I would say not just first team starter, but quietly one of the leaders on the pitch. It's almost a coach who, they have that clipboard thing of the diagram of a pitch and you got them little counters that you move around. It's almost like, for me, Curtis Jones plays the game looking at it from a bird's eye view, knowing where everyone is, what the right thing is to do. When should I turn on it? When should I put my body between the man and the ball? When should I drive with it? When should I take a risk? It's just becoming this thing of so fine-tuned. And the only way I can describe it is, when we watch the likes of maybe a Barca or a Barca or a PSG, and you watch, I'm not saying he's on that level, but you watch the likes of Verratti and Pedri, who are trusted to decide the tempo of the game and decide how the team are going to play. Curtis Jones does that for Liverpool. And I genuinely think because he's young, because he's not a fashionable name that was bought for a lot of money, a lot of other fan bases, no one underrates Curtis Jones in the sense of no one thinks he's a bad player, but I don't think people realize how important or good he is. If Curtis Jones was out, the Liverpool fans might be panicking, but another fan base might be like, oh, well, Curtis Jones out, that's not a problem, you'll cover that. But we've talked about how much Diaz is benefiting, but I think the whole team benefits from Curtis Jones playing. And what you're seeing now is each area of the pitch is building. He knows what to do defensively. He learned from that West Brom mistake a few years ago. We all know he already had quality on the ball. And now we're also seeing these lung-busting runs from the final third, into the final third. He missed a chance in the first half where it was blocked with his left foot, similar to the goal he scored actually against Villa. Same angle that was. And you're just seeing a lot of that now. It's now breaking into the box. So we now have a player, guys, who does all of his middle third and first third responsibilities, but suddenly has a goal threat now as well. And normally I would be the one parading the fact that he should be going to the Euros, but I would like him to stay as quiet and as unimportant as he is, because the more times he plays for England, the less time we're going to see him playing for Liverpool, because he does get the odd niggle here and there. So I want him to be, like I think I said it last time as well, by next season, I slowly want him to be integrated into the leadership group that Klopp has. Doesn't mean he needs to be captain or anything, but I think this kid is really growing into this homegrown leader status with Trent as well.
Curtis Jones improves every team in the country.
Oh,
yeah,
every team in the country. And I want to say our perception. Sorry, I'm not saying our as in the five folks who are speaking now, but the wider Liverpool fan base's perception of how good Curtis Jones is even now when he's starting to get his flowers, is still, I think, far too low. Like how I've seen fans of other teams speak about him, notable City, analysts and commentators about that club, our Arsenal fans. This is a player that they want on their team. Like from the outside looking in, the only doubts I personally have ever had over Curtis Jones were his health. When his health was so murky, he had the weird eye injury, and then he had the lower body injury where he had to like rest every third or fourth day, and nobody really knew what it was, and it was a rare sort of condition. We didn't really know what it was. Those are the only times where I started to sweat over his long-term future, just health-related things. When it comes to ability, if you were watching clips of Curtis Jones tearing it up at U18 level and you weren't thinking he's far too good for that, and then he comes into the first team picture in I think 2020 it was, and you're thinking, okay, he clearly has it. He clearly has the X factor. If you couldn't see it, then I don't really know what to say to you, because the guy so clearly has it. And I want to make this comparison on trait only. I don't want to make some misguided comparison about quality of player, especially, because he's so young. But Curtis Jones reminds me of David Silva in the sense that he has that inherent ability to carry 5 yards of space with him wherever he goes. Like, you just cannot get anywhere within that bubble. You just cannot take the ball off of Curtis Jones. I'm trying to think of how many opportunities when Curtis Jones has been given chances in the first team where he is sort of just needlessly robbed in possession in such a frustrating way. I remember the criticism used to be, okay, yeah, he's a great dribbler, silky touch, doesn't get the ball taken from him, but he gets in the final third, and then what? That sort of used to be the criticism. But lo and behold, Liverpool have become a much better team collectively around him since those criticisms were first levied. And now, look at this, surprise, surprise, the guy has added some end product in terms of goals and assists, and in terms of giving us that much needed control in matches. Curtis Jones, how is he not a starter? You know what I mean? And you could make a similar argument for Harvey Elliott, who's been playing out of this world off the bench, winning us games off the bench. These are guys who, as the starters of Szoboszlai, they start to pick up fatigue injuries or mental fatigue related confidence issues. You can expect these guys to come in and dominate. And I personally have reached a stage with Curtis Jones where I don't need to think of him as a youth player anymore, as a youth prospect. I think this is what we're seeing is a guy approaching full maturity in the Premier League and looking like one of the better players in the league in the process.
High praise indeed. High praise indeed. 3-1 up, Cav. 10 minutes on the clock. Like Conroy says, we think, okay, that's fine. Everything's good. We haven't conceded many from set pieces. I don't know, some stato in the chat might correct me, but I believe we're doing good against set pieces. Our very own Steve was at the game today. That's why he couldn't join us today. He's just back from the game. Gomez and Jones were superb. Steve, we literally, as usual, all the red fellas are on the same wavelength. Amazing. Ball. YKB. If you was on Twitter, I would have tweeted you YKB in capital letters, son. But Cav 3-1 up, and then they score with a header. Again, this is why I thought we'd pick our tall team, because they are giants in that Newcastle team. Again, put ourselves under a bit of pressure. But talking about game changers off the bench and controllers and people that find space and technical geniuses, we had Alexis McAllister coming back from injury today. Comes on and that pass was sensational, Cav. That pass was sensational, sir. That is your moment of speaking on Alexis McAllister.
Well, I'm gonna take my time with it because I'll get to
please
I'll get to the assists. But what I'd just like to highlight, just we went through a bit of period of the game where all the fight and all the ability and so on was there, but not that we lost control, but you could tell that Klopp was definitely not happy with some things. And I mentioned, I can't remember if it was on the Red Fellas or the show with Bush or what it was, but I said, it's strange that we've not seen a lot of finger pointing and a lot of coaching in the games from Klopp. He's not really barking orders around and stuff. He seemingly is quite comfortable to let things play out. But today was the opposite. This guy was instructing everybody, which tells you, as good as we were, he knew this game wasn't home and dry, even at 3-1 up. And it was pretty inevitable, after the cameras panned to him and he was, took his cap off and Luis Diaz is laughing behind him because of how frustrated he was that we go and concede the header at a corner, which, like you say, is so unusual for us. I think partly it's maybe a little bit of, just the game and how much energy we put into it. I think the substitutions didn't necessarily help us as well. Gravenberch, I didn't think did really well when he came on. And you talk about how good Curtis Jones was. You only have to look at the likes of Szoboszlai and Gravenberch and how we've described them in today's game. A bit of a contrast to what Curtis Jones was offering us. So it's not easy playing this in this Liverpool midfield. Even players as talented as Gravenberch and as athletic and talented as Szoboszlai. So that's just an A to Curtis. But they score and McAllister at this point has come on for Endo, who again was exceptional. We spoke about him earlier. My concern at this point was that Endo was so good that McAllister coming in off the back of an injury, he's not been out for ages, but he could have a little bit of rustiness about him, but just fitted right into that game. Got on the ball, silky with his turns, passing was nice and tidy and crisp.
His first pass was between the lines, by the way. His first pass took out 3 men to get to Gakpo. I was like, what the hell? Like, that was his first touch of the game.
Why was you, what the hell? Why was you surprised?
No, I'm just, like Cav's saying, he's been out for a little while. How can that be default level?
No, so the thing is, when you're out for a little while, the vision and your brain is still there. Obviously, physically, like, for example, they have a break and, he's not the best at running back. That's where you may have an issue. But on the ball, breaking lines. And Cav, that pass that broke, not the lines, but broke Newcastle's back, heart, soul, life, enabled. And I want you to, no, we're not going to mention Nunez. Conroy, stay in that naughty corner, don't you dare button and mention Nunez. But Jota's going through, and I'm comfortable. Something's going to result in a goal. Like, whether it's he's been brought down, what did you make of that? Because no way Jota goes down if he doesn't get touched there, because Jota's a goal scorer. He wants fucking goals.
Yeah. Do you know what? The pass, he plays it outside of the foot, right? And it goes between 2 Newcastle players, travels about 40, 50 yards on the ground.
You know where that meme, have you seen guys that meme where that man's eating the food and he's like, he's enjoying that food so much. That's me right now looking at that replay. It's like so nice.
I feel like Grizz used to tell me not to eat on stream, and now I'm watching him eat on stream. Does anybody else feel similar?
Hey, Liverpool cooked today, so Grizz has got to eat.
No, it's not that. Do you know what? It was because we were losing every week, and like emotions were down, and like, fuck it.
The pass is exceptional, and I don't know what channel you guys were watching on, but it only caught up at the point in which it was Jota was receiving the ball, and once I realized it was him, I was just like, happy days, because you kind of expect it to be Salah. But when I seen it with Jota, I was like, the guy's just he's gonna get to the box. Obviously, he's ahead of the Newcastle defenders, and you just know he knows what to do once he's in it, and he goes for on goal. And you can see this delay that he does. He takes his time in the box. He's calm. He positions his body and he positions straight on that he's going to drag this ball around the keeper on his stronger foot. And that's exactly what he does. The only surprise was that he didn't tuck it away on his left foot. He actually goes down. And at that point, I thought, it's got to be a penalty because Jota he wouldn't go down there. Exactly. It's no disrespect. It's not Nunez making an absolute wild decision to try and get a penalty. Jota scores if Jota can score. So if he's gone down, there must be a touch. And then you see the replay. You see that the Bradford does touch his foot. There's contact. Again, it's a little bit delayed, but It weren't as if he really stabilized himself and then thrown himself on the ground. It was part of the same motion. It was a penalty clearing through, and then the only question then was Salah going to take his penalty this time round, which obviously he does. So exceptional pass, needed it in the game because, like I said, you could not that there was a momentum shift, but you could kind of get a sense with the way the game had gone, Klopp's reactions, that Newcastle could maybe really cause a bit of an upset here based off how the game was going. That goal was much needed just to settle nerves, and it comes at a time where you'd think Liverpool would see it through.
Imagine hitting your career catalog pass, an assist that you're going to tell your grandkids about, and then Jota just shit houses a pen instead of drilling it.
Con, did you have any sort of thoughts on the officiating today? I mean, I commented on the Joe Linton rugby tackle. Now, guys, some may not even know what rugby is in the chat because there's such passionate football fans. But rugby is a game, and kabaddi for the South Asians in the chat is a game where you try to stop the man from progressing, basically, in essence, by all means necessary. As long as it's not sort of clotheslining the throat, everything else is allowed. You tackle through them from the arms, the chest, legs. Joe Linton, Conroy, have you got any explanation, sir, live from PGMO headquarters? Have you got any explanation into why he didn't get a yellow for that?
Firstly, we've won 4-2, so this obsession of officiating, each to their own, but I do think it just seems to be constantly now. I think the reason for that, I think it was a yellow card, because if someone pulls someone back and the play's carried on, and you're not stopping a dangerous counter-attack, so you wouldn't be booked for that. But because that's quite like a severe challenge that could probably justify a booking in general, I think it should be a yellow card. But to be perfectly honest, I know we love to complain about refs, but major decisions were correct. Apart from that, I couldn't really think of anything else that was bad. I know we want this thing where it's going to be perfect, but I think should be realistic enough that that's not going to happen. So don't think, there's any major things. And again, it's not like I'm an apologist. I just think sometimes we love to complain about stuff and not look at ourselves. I think we got the job done today. Nothing major. And I think the Jota one, for me, I think we're lucky it's a penalty, but I do think it's a penalty. I actually think Dubravka's very unlucky. I think he pulls his arms away. I think it's his elbow that catches Jota's left leg. I think that's really unlucky from the goalkeeper, to be honest. But it is probably a penalty, and they're not going to overturn it because there's contact. And I think, pretty much there's not really any decisions. There's stuff about the Longstaff penalty. I don't even think there's that even. I was a second replay on that one during the game, so I'm not sure about that one. But ultimately, major incidents, they were fine. We won the game. I'll take that, to be honest.
Guys, there you go. PGMO have spoken. Dermot O'Conroy has...
Just because I'm not an echo chamber, I'm PGMO.
No, it's not that. It's not that. I thought he was atrocious again. I know you think otherwise.
Chris, that's not a statement for you. You just don't like Anthony Taylor in general.
No. He was awful.
All of these refs are equally incompetent, in my opinion.
We won. I got no reason to hate him. We won.
So what are you going to do? You're going to sign up for the FA next week and be a ref. So what's going to change then? Do you know what I mean?
But this is my point. It doesn't mean that we can't speak on it. Are you going to be playing for anytime soon for a Premier League football club? Yet here we are speaking about Premier League football players. No, so we're allowed to speak on officials.
What's your complaints though? What I don't get is right.
It's a rugby tackle, and it's not.
Right, that's one decision on a booking. It's done. Move on. What do you want?
I tell you why that changes the tone of a game, because Joe Linton gets booked 5 minutes into the second half, which should in essentially be his yellow card. If we're dealing with fine margins in a title race, like we have been by 1 point 3 times or twice, you're looking at fine margins, and that was a horrendous decision. I called it one of the worst ones I've seen, and we've seen a catalogue of bad.
I just think we're always looking for stuff. We're always looking for stuff. I understand.
You're both right. You're both right. As fans, especially fans of this club, who have been the victim of an unprecedented refereeing fuck up.
Absolutely.
We will be looking at it. We will be looking at it. We will be looking for it for the rest of the season. I think it's a shame that Joelinton didn't get the yellow card he so obviously deserved. Because I think up until that point, Anthony Taylor was having a good game. And by a good game, I mean I didn't notice who was refereeing the game because he kind of just blended into the action. Only when he failed to book the most obvious yellow card I've seen all season did I notice that it was Anthony Taylor refereeing the game. And that's how it should be. That's sort of how I feel about it.
It can't happen, Evan. VAR. It can't happen. VAR.
I need to think of the PGMOL as sort of a monolith, in that it doesn't really matter who's refereeing the particular game because they're all sort of a certain quality, but it's not really true. And I think Anthony Taylor, he loses control of the game after that. It's a shame. It's a shame because I don't like talking about referees. It's boring.
But that's never going to stop, guys, because VAR is scrutinising every decision. So ultimately, a referee makes a decision on VAR. So you're never going to blend into a game because so many major decisions in football are going to get brought up. So therefore, you're going to have a referee making game-winning decisions. So this kind of euphoria we're looking for is never going to exist anymore because you want to scrutinise every part of football. So I don't know what we're looking for because sometimes I think we need to put a realistic hat on to understand that we wanted this. This is here, right, for VAR. So you're never going to have a ref. And listen, Ev, I agree with you, mate. But see when you watch a game with foot VAR, that's great, but that's never going to happen in future. And that's just the way I see it. I just think I'm realistic. So see when there's not a major incident, I'll accept that. I just think at times there's so many things to look at that's positive. We don't have to talk about that, but that's the culture of football.
Do you know, in some way, the key decisions, right? They reviewed the offsides and got them right. They reviewed the penalties and got them right. And obviously, I'm going to say that it went in our favour. Okay, so they got the key decisions right, and his poor performance actually benefited us in some way because it got the Anfield crowd going. Not going, but it kept on going. You know, we had a common enemy, and that filtered down to the players. Now, that's not something to plan for. That's not something to rely on, but him having a bad performance should never be any reason why Liverpool don't win games. We should be better. We should create enough chances and score enough goals that one or two decisions that are incorrect from the ref don't cost us. But today, his bad performance and his loss of control helped us because they're in our backyard. You know, they're playing on our pitch. This is in front of our crowd. And I kind of liked it because I thought if the crowd get this angry at the referee, it's only going one way. It's only going to encourage these players to continue playing. So, strange way of looking at it, but I'd just say it kind of worked in our favour a little bit.
Mush, before we move on, did you want to say something on it?
No, just super quick. I was just going to say I'm kind of like in Evan's school of thought of the fact that we definitely should complain about refs because it affects our team's outcomes. But at the same time, I disagree sometimes when whatever club we support, we think we are the most badly done by referees, right? But
that's not.
Yeah, and if we think about it, if I support Wolves, right? First game of the season, I watched Onana knock out one of my players in the last minute. We didn't get anything. I watched a ball hit my defender's leg, then hit his hand, a penalty given away at Luton. If I support Arsenal, just a few days ago, they can't even confirm if the ball has gone on or off, even though they have a million cameras on the pitch. So it's just, we're all suffering from this incompetence, and sometimes we're going to get away with it, and sometimes we're not. I don't want to use that throwaway term of it all balances out, because statistically it probably won't, but everyone's dealing with this incompetence.
I mean, Aston Villa are only currently in the Premier League in a top 4 race because goal line technology just stopped working a few years ago during the COVID season. Remember, they had to win and they conceded a goal and it was clearly over the line to the naked eye and to the check. And then goal line technology, this infallible thing, stopped working. So to say that we are the unluckiest team, maybe at this point in a specific season we might be, but think about that. There is literally a team that should have been relegated. And now that specific team, through a ripple effect, have now become sort of a top 6, top 8 established team. I'm in agreement. I think there's no basis for one club to feel that they are the cursed people, the cursed people. You know what I mean?
I agreed. I agree. I don't think there is such a thing. I absolutely do believe in, this is just my opinion, I absolutely do believe in a subconscious dislike for a man or a coach if you have, and I think that can sway decisions because they're human, they're not robots, they can't totally they can't totally take out the emotional, and Jurgen Klopp, whether inadvertently, has become this sort of figure amongst the referees. And there is a disdain for him, and like there is a disdain for Pep probably as well. As I said, it's not just for one player, one club, one coach. You know, it is what it is. But move on. Lamar H sends in a super chat, says Jota, Nunez, Gakpo, Diaz have their positive and negatives they bring to the team. They just have to continue to grow and raise levels.
I wanted to actually just say that, guys, we've seen 2 games in a row now. Who would have thought? I didn't think there would be this big a change, but we've seen 2 games of Gakpo on the left rather than back to goal up front, and very different in how direct he looks, how confident he looks shooting the ball, a lot more involved in the goals. I don't know if you guys feel we're seeing a different player,
Well,
but
this
I
is
certainly think
this
we are.
is what I was going to finish up on. By the way, first, and by the way, channel member, one of the original channel members is Grizz, and everyone. Happy New Year to you and your family. Thank you so much, Dinesh. Really appreciate the support. That's what I wanted to end on. And one by one, we're going to go through and very finish up on this topic. Now that we're on top of the table, now that we lose the best DM in the country and the greatest playmaker of recent times, how do we rejig this team and attack? More importantly, I guess, Alexis McAllister is the obviously simple solution to Endo. What do we do? What do we do? Because Gakpo has thrown a spanner in the works, so to speak, in terms of playing off the left. How do we fix this massive Mohamed Salah void? Whoever wants to take it first.
I'm going to just go first because I have a solution straight in my head already. Not saying it's right or wrong, obviously. I'm going to keep banging the Harvey Elliott drum. So I think he should start. I know we're going to see McAllister back in that team. What I do think that means, though, is if you've got a midfielder of Jones, McAllister, and Harvey Elliott, you lose a bit of that vertical physicality and high intensity. I think that naturally reintroduces someone like Gakpo and his technical ability back into the team, because rather than us trying to have basketball matches whilst Mo's away, I would rather us have a controlled possession style of play and just knock on the door in a controlled way until we get the goal, because I'm sure all of us here don't care about winning 4-0. I would take 2 or 3 1-0 wins whilst Mo is absent. So that would be my 2 changes. I would bring McAllister comes in anyway, but Elliott in for Szoboszlai's position and Gakpo on the left, just so we can look after the ball better.
Guys, we're coming up to the last few minutes of the show. We're very close to 250 likes. I like this ratio. You're such an amazing audience. This is a better ratio. This is more Jota-like, finishing percentages. So thank you very much for that. I'm going to go to Cav and then Conroy and then Evan. Cav, solve the Mohamed Salah puzzle, please, if you may.
You're on mute, Cav.
Sorry. Elliott would have been the replacement for Salah for me, but the Szoboszlai injury is a bit of a knock-on impact to them, because you've got to fill that void that's left by him in the right-sided 8 position. So I would perhaps experiment with putting Diaz on the right and put Gakpo on the left. And I've wanted to see Diaz on the right for a while, to be honest with you, because I just think he'll offer both that option to hit the byline and put crosses in, and also try and play inside as well. I also think he'll benefit with his work rate, Trent, and that position he may occupy, and the shift around we have to do on that right side. Trent is going to be key. I know he's always key, but he's going to be even more key now for continuing to create them chances and dominate that right side even more in the absence of Salah. So a little bit of a rejig. I think we'll probably see Gakpo on the left. We'll probably see Gakpo in midfield. His versatility is going to be huge. And then Jota, it depends how fit he is as to how much he plays. We've seen him play on the right a few years back, but I'd be more inclined to see him on the left or up top and try and rejig other players onto that right side. But in that period where we were at Endo and we were without Salah, we're playing in all the competitions bar the Europa League, I believe. So it's how seriously we take them, and it's how the games unfold, I guess. You know, we've got Arsenal right away, and then we've got Fulham in a 2-leg tie. So it depends how much you want to rotate and how strong he's going to go in them competitions. We've got a good chance at them all now, but he's got to, I don't think target one, but he's got to take it game by game and see who's available, because players are going to return from injury and players are going to drop as well. So you can come up with a lineup now, but it really is going to change, I think, game by game, to be honest with you.
Guys, just very quickly, just something totally random someone just sent me. Mohamed Salah's SofaScore rating, even though he missed a penalty. Quick guess, guys. Go one by one, quick.
9.5.
9.37.
Con?
9.2.
Yeah, 9.2 as well.
9.2. That is insane. Absolutely insane. Anyway,
Speaking of data, Grizz, Liverpool broke the XG record today. I don't know if that was mentioned before I came on. And we are absolutely sick for only scoring 4. That makes me sick.
Oh,
how do you only score 4? I don't know. Yeah, who cares about XG? Nobody cares about that. Let me.
Conroy.
How I would.
No, you're last.
Do you want me to? Oh, I go
You're
last.
last.
Okay.
Conroy, how do we solve in your head the Mohamed Salah conundrum? Absence of Mohamed Salah conundrum.
Yeah, I think Jota will play down the middle.
Yeah.
And I think between me, it's either Nunez on the left. But I think because Gakpo has done okay there, I think either of them on the left. Because I just think Gakpo, when he plays on the right, it just doesn't work there. I would say it would either be Elliott or Diaz on the right. You know, I might surprise people. I'd probably go with Diaz, to be honest, because I think he's after today, and he can do a job on the right. Like, you think about his assist against Arsenal at the Emirates, like, he actually isn't just like a passenger out there. He actually can do a job. So for me, I would probably lean towards that, but I wouldn't be surprised if Elliott got the nod. And I know, Mush has mentioned with Elliott's form, you couldn't really disagree with that. Even though it's a slightly different position, I think he'd probably still deserve that.
Okay, so it seems to be Jota and then Diaz. The consensus so far. Evan?
Harvey Elliott is sort of like the natural answer, I think. And I think when you don't have Salah on the pitch, that right wing position becomes very fluid. Sort of like whoever's playing on the right-handed side of central midfield and whoever's playing right wing, it just sort of molds into and becomes one. I would kind of be tempted to play Jota on the right wing with Harvey kind of in behind him. It's not everyone's favorite, and I don't think there is a right or wrong answer. Like, you guys have presented a variety of options. Obviously, Gakpo, I think, becomes a starter in this situation. He sort of finds a way to play, and you got to try to get Jota on the pitch as well. I mean, these are nice headaches to have, isn't it? It's a nice headache to have when you're trying to choose between who Gakpo or Jota. And on Gakpo, we already had our Darwin discussion, so I'll park it there. But for me, even beyond the goal scoring chance conversion things, my biggest issue with Darwin Nunez is that he's not as good of a footballer as Cody Gakpo is. I think Cody Gakpo does everything better than Darwin Nunez, or just as good as him. I'd say the only drawback is he's not the same physical specimen in terms of top speed or vertical leap or whatever, but Gakpo is a versatile option who can come in. And I also just want to point out that if Egypt fail to get out of the group stage, Salah only ends up missing one Premier League game. So it's worth noting
repeat that again. Sorry.
I'm pretty sure if Egypt fail to get out of the group stages, which is possible considering they're kind of dreadful, Salah will only end up missing a maximum of one Premier League game. I believe that's what my dad told me yesterday. So there are factors outside of our control.
Your father is absolutely spot on, but the chances of Egypt not coming out of the group that they've been put in is 10 to 15%.
Who did they get? Who did they get?
Zimbabwe. Ghana's the next rated team, and the 2 teams go through. So it's like nailed on that they will qualify. Unfortunately,
I mean, Egypt were horrific the last tournament because I watched it. And
Yeah,
they,
I was about to,
they got to
and,
the
you know,
final.
Well, hopefully I've done the Grizz
I
jinx.
have to
Hopefully I've done the
say
Grizz jinx.
I saw a tweet earlier where some guy was saying AFCON, even more than other international tournaments, seems to defy all logic in the sense that how many star-studded African teams have gone to AFCON on paper supposed to be walking the tournament, and then
Yeah,
they
yeah.
lose to Zimbabwe, for example. You know, it's just it
Scotland.
really is a tournament that really throws logic out the window.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I mean, listen, we have to. I think we're getting to the nervous territory now. We're January the 1st. We're top of the table. We've discussed whether we're 2 points ahead. Well, technically we are 2 points ahead of the next best team. But in theory, in footballing realistic terms, we're 5 clear now of Arsenal and 5 clear of City. But City have a game in hand, and that essentially means 2-point lead. But my God, would we have taken this, people? At the start of the season, during the summer, during all our shows of frustration, where's the midfielders? Where's the renovation of the team? Where's our defender? Everything else, we would have taken this, and this is where we are right now. And now I believe, guys, the next 7 games are the most pivotal 7 games of the season so far. I know everyone talks about the start, the middle, and the Christmas period or the end, but it's this next 7 games, league games, that are the most pivotal, I believe, in this title race. If after the next 7 games we are still within a point or leading, deep breaths. I'd like to thank Evan. I'd like to thank Conroy. I'd like to thank Cav, and I'd like to thank Mush for making his debut. Hope he's enjoyed it. We will see much more of Mush. Really appreciate you coming on. I'd like to appreciate the chat. 400 of you still in here amazingly on New Year's Day, coming up to whatever time it is. We have reached 250 likes. You guys are absolute legends of the game, and we appreciate you all. Don't forget to check out our sponsors for all your banners, prints, cards. This has been Red Fellas on a Monday, not on a Sunday. But it's one of those weeks where just everyone's confused, right? Because that's what happens. We don't know what time of day it is, what time of night it is, which continent we're in. But what we do know is Liverpool is on top of the table. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck. Over and out. Take it.